Hello there, and welcome to Gathering Point Online. My name is Matt, and I'm one of the folks on the team here at GP, and it is so nice to have you gathered together with us today. Let me just tell you what you can expect here at Gathering Point Online. You're going to hear a very meaningful message for your life, about life hacks actually, ways that you can be better at life and be a better follower of Jesus. You're going to hear from Pastor Dane in just a little bit about group life, launching an incredible array of groups over the next days and weeks, and we want you to be a part of that. And we're going to hear from our incredible band, some awesome music in just a moment. Speaking of music, tonight, night of worship here at Gathering Point. We are so excited for our third night of worship, and we can't wait to see you there. It looks like the weather is going to be perfect, and we can't wait for it. Boy, I hope the weather doesn't change in the next 5 hours or so, or I'm in deep trouble. Anyway, we're so glad you're here today. Enjoy this song as we kick off our service together.
Like a covenant of old, and your love is enduring through the winter rain and beyond the horizon, with mercy for today. And faithful you have been, and faithful you will be. You pledge yourself to me, and it's why I sing your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Makes us whole, and you shoulder weakness, and your strength becomes our own, and you're making me like you, clothing me in white, bringing beauty from ashes, and you will have your bride, free of all her sin, and rid of all her shame. Why I sing your praise will ever
Hey, Matt back with you, and a big shout out to all of our musicians and vocalists for ensuring we have incredible times of worship together, even in this format. I'm here with Pastor Dane. Dane, nice to see you, man. Pastor Dane oversees a lot of important things in the life of our church, but one of the most important things is group life, and we are about to launch in to group life for fall 2020. It hasn't felt like fall much the last week. It's been like the last heat of summer. Cool. But as we move towards fall and we launch group life here at Gathering Point, talk to me, why is it so important to be a part of group life at Gathering Point?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Matt. And we're always encouraging people at Gathering Point to take the next step. And one of those steps is getting into a community group or short-term group. We want everyone to be in a group. Group life is the lifeline where people can get connected, experience community, be cared for, and grow spiritually.
Awesome. So I know that we have lots of people at lots of different places in their life. So talk to me about the lineup we have in store for our folks this fall.
Yeah, we currently will launch September 13th. Our current groups will launch then, but we're also offering what we call short-term groups that are 4 to 9 weeks. Those groups will also launch the week of Sunday the 13th. It's going to be a busy week. We have 13 short-term groups with, like you said, a variety of those focuses that are going to be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays.
All the time.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
All the time.
But for example, understanding our temperaments, personal finances, who doesn't need assistance with that, being equipped for that, creating healthy margins and boundaries, dealing with hurts, habits, and hang-ups, we've all got them. Marriage enrichment, we're for healthy marriages. For men, doing life with no excuses. For women, we've got opportunities for creating time and space and balance in their busy lives. Perhaps you or some friends are interested in getting started in a new group or joining a group, and you can do that through an event called Group Launch. It's going to take place on Mondays.
Okay. I tried to count, but I lost count because there's so many things to be a part of. There is no excuse for you not to be a part of
Sure.
group life here at Gathering Point, because there's something for everyone at every stage of life that you're in, whether you're a young adult fresh out of college or you're a senior adult enjoying the twilight of your life and investing in people around you. There is absolutely no reason for any of you to not be a part of group life at Gathering Point. So tell me, how will we learn if we register or we sign up? How do we do that? When will these groups start? So on and so forth.
Starting today. Registration goes live, and there's a couple ways to get the information and get to the registration page. So if you just get out your phone right now, Matt, come on, help me out, and everybody else, just get out your phone.
I don't have
one
my phone.
opportunity that you'll have is to text GP Groups to 97000. That'll take you to the information page, and in just a couple clicks to the registration page with other information. Or two, you can open up our church app. Maybe you haven't opened for a while, you need to open it, it'll restart. And once it's opened, you'll go to the menu at the bottom and you'll click Find Small Groups. There's a list of each group title, description, the day it meets, where it meets, and then it'll take you to the registration page. And we've tried to make it as simple as possible for everyone to access.
All right, so text GP Groups to 97000 and you'll get all the information you need. I'm telling you, there is nothing better in life, and you can attest to this because I've talked to you about it. There's nothing better in life than doing life with a group of people that you care about and that care about you. And I've experienced that in my life in the last couple of weeks. The people in my circle have just surrounded me and my family when we've needed it most. There's nothing better in the world than having that group of people. It really is a place where we can live out what God has in store for us together. So make sure you sign up for groups. It's a great way to do life together. Speaking of life, life is sometimes not the easiest thing in the world, but we're in the middle of a great series entitled Life Hacks, and Pastor Paul is going to continue with that right now.
If I were to ask you, how many of you right now would like to see God in your life, active right now? I think you would probably make a list of all the areas in your life that you would like to see God in. I know I would. But Jesus said in the Beatitudes that the pure in heart will see God, which leads us to the question, how do we get a pure heart beyond the praying? I would encourage everyone to pray Lord, make my heart pure. That's a great place to start. But today I want to talk about a little bit of a life hack that puts some practicality in this desire to have a pure heart, and ultimately it's going to pave the way for you to have God show up in your life. Now the reality is He's already in your life. This is just going to help you have the ability to see what He's up to. So you ready? To start, I want to help give a context. So, how many of you have ever purchased exercise equipment? I mean, isn't it true? You were so excited to bring it home. I mean, it was a great deal at the store, or maybe you found it at a garage sale. And do you remember how you felt? I mean, immediately, you looked at that equipment and you felt stronger. You felt healthier just looking at it. And you were just imagining the kind of workouts you could have. But you weren't stronger, were you? Well, you weren't, because it's the application that makes all the difference. I mean, have you ever read a diet book or listened to a great podcast about all the benefits of eating different? Maybe you followed a blog or you watched a docu-series and somebody was on this diet and they were so changed and you were so excited. You even forwarded it and told all these other people about it, and you were convinced of the benefits. In fact, you started feeling healthier, but you weren't, because you didn't start it, because application is what makes all the difference. Now, my personal favorite is home improvement projects. I mean, it's like a legitimate rush for me to go buy the supplies and research the tools and get it all planned out. I mean, I can smell the sawdust right now just thinking about it. But then you get home with a car full of items and you're so tired from all that shopping that you decide to take a break. I mean, we recently had a ceiling fan that broke, so we bought a new one. And it was going to be amazing to kind of help airflow in our living room, and I just imagined all the difference it would make. But it didn't make a difference until we installed it, because it did no good just sitting in the box. And sometimes we love the idea of a new thing, don't we? And we love the idea of all the ways it's going to make our lives better and easier and nicer. And believe it or not, we do the same things in our life spiritually. I mean, the spiritual equivalent is that we listen to messages, and we go to a small group, and we get the Bible app, and we download some devotions, and we may even feel a little convicted or inspired as a result of that. And we think because we had like a feeling, we've made progress. But we haven't, because we haven't changed anything. We haven't applied it to our regular life. So, we've been focusing on applying the teachings of Jesus and the things that his brother James said, and not just hearing or planning or wishing, because having a goal isn't enough, is it? I mean, we actually must do it. We must apply this to our lives and practice living a different way. So today I want to talk to you about kind of the same idea, and about how to apply the teachings of Jesus in a broader context to our family, to our friends, to our neighbors, in the office, and ultimately to our nation. So to be clear, this teaching today does not apply to strangers or the people that you don't know. I mean, don't be mean to strangers, that's not what I'm saying, but what we're talking about today has nothing to do with the people that you don't know. It has all about the people that you do know. And it's the issue of trust. And I know trust is easier for some than others, but trust is absolutely necessary for healthy relationships, as well as healthy work or even for our community, which ultimately trickles down into like our national culture. Because when trust is low, our quality of life is low. So I want to begin with a familiar passage, and I've used this passage many times at weddings, and for most people, I mean, this makes sense for most of them, but there's one verse in here that just doesn't make any sense at all. In fact, it kind of seems wrong. It sort of makes us feel naive. But if we're going to work towards seeing God, then this is an essential for having a pure heart. Because a suspicious heart will just wear you out, and not only you, but those around you. So 1 Corinthians chapter 13, you've heard this, you know this, chapter 13, verse 4, it says, "Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it doesn't boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it's not self-seeking, it's not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs, and love does not delight in evil, but it rejoices in the truth." Love isn't looking to catch someone doing something wrong. And then Paul makes this one statement that point to this sort of this one idea. It says, it always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Another translation out of the NASB says this, it bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. So in other words, love sort of bends. Love has a component of flexibility. So let me elaborate a little bit on this, okay? Love gives the other person the benefit of the doubt. Love looks for like the most generous explanation for the other person's behavior. And love chooses trust over suspicion. So, in every relationship you have, there are unexplainable gaps between what we sort of expect people to do and what they actually do, right? I mean, isn't this true? I mean, think about this for just a second. At home, you have this gap. I mean, you say, he's late again, or she blew the budget again, or he didn't call, or asked me to pick up the kids, or what's this bill about, or she said she wouldn't do that anymore, or he said she would pick up his room for this time, or they said that they would empty the dishwasher. And there's a gap between what they said and what they did. I mean, this happens at work. She said she wouldn't be late anymore, or they said it would be done on Tuesday, or I think that was actually my idea that you just said. Or that's not what anybody asked for, or nobody does what I say. It happens with your friends. I mean, you wonder, why is she talking to my best friend? I'll bet you they're gossiping about me. Or you see something on social media and you go, why wasn't I invited to that? And there's a gap. In our nation, the government, those politicians. I mean, how many of you have said, well, what do you expect from a Democrat? Or maybe this week you said, can you believe the Republicans? And now to make it worse, it's happening in our schools and churches because of COVID. I mean, I've been personally told that I'm a coward for not opening the building. And I've been told I'm reckless for doing night of worship. Now, by the way, we'll be opening soon, and night of worship is happening tonight, so don't miss that, okay? And then there's the opinions now about police and about race. And I find it interesting that one half of our country thinks the other half of the country is just idiots. I mean, it's not that they don't have just different views. I mean, you actually think they were dropped on their heads as small children. And what happens is a national mistrust is very, very dangerous because we all think we know something that the other side doesn't know. But we don't. What we do is actually we decide and are deciding what happens in the gap, this gap of trust, and that's what creates mistrust. The gap of, I thought you would, and then you actually. And it's the temptation is we think they, our spouse, our work, our kids, our friends, our family, nationally, we decide what we put in the gap. We think they put it in the gap, but that's not how it works because I have the choice of what I put in that gap. I have the choice to believe the best, take the benefit of the doubt, to say, I'm sure there must be a good explanation about that. Or maybe there's something I just don't understand. Maybe there's information that they have that I don't know, and I have a choice. I can assume the best or I can assume the worst and think, oh, he or she, they're just so stupid, they're so dumb. I mean, nobody is doing anything. Am I the only one doing that? And we think it's the other people that force us to opt for one over the other, but they don't. We choose, I choose what goes into the gap, which means I've been responsible for choosing the things that's clogging my heart. So here's a life hack I want to give you. In healthy relationships, both parties have to go to ridiculous lengths to believe the best about the other side. And you already know, I know this, but going negative always undermines relationship because there's no win. I mean, nothing good comes from that. And many people think this, well, things are a lot better now that she knows I don't trust her. But refusing to trust becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because suspicion is really a form of rejection. And our hearts were created to be drawn towards acceptance. And so when you choose to trust, you're actually making room for people to act trustworthy. And if you don't, you'll always be waiting for the other person or the other side to disappoint you. And guess what? You're going to be right either way. You think someone's going to be trusting? They will be. If you think they're going to be mistrustful, they will. And you never know. You can't trust someone until you actually trust them. So here's another life hack. Ready? You're going to be happier and your relationships will be healthier if you choose to trust. So I get it. I can hear you already. So what happens when trust becomes impossible? When you can't choose to trust? Well, then you're going to have to choose to confront. And here's the strange thing. We don't like to confront. We don't do it. Instead, we sit, we stew, we gossip, we call, we text, we post, we make suspicions that make it worse, and we stir stuff up to the point that we point the finger and we assume. But the longer that you and I keep our suspicion concealed, the bigger it grows and the uglier it gets. And the consequences of confrontation are far less severe than the consequences of concealment. And so in most cases, when I confront someone, you know what I often say after I confront someone? I often walk away and go, oh, I didn't know that. But the longer you and I wait, the madder you and I will be. And when things are eventually confronted, have you ever waited too long? Then you might over-communicate. That means like you blow up and the real issue is overlooked because now you have to deal with all the spewing of everything and all this sorts of stuff that you've been building up in your heart all this time. But confronting, which is like asking for an explanation with the assumption that there's a good one, that's the way forward. And when there's not a good answer, then you can respond appropriately. That's when you discipline your kids, but you need to then forget it. But you can't just expect the worst the next time. At work, maybe you just need to clarify expectations and give them another chance and just say, I trust you. Because the healthy way forward is you do what you can do to walk away and then allow space to build trust. We actually talked about this as our staff this week, and we said this. When there's a gap between what I expected and what you experienced, let's all choose to believe the best in one another. We just kind of went over that. We also said when other people assume the worst about you, and they have and they will, I will come to your defense. We said, when I begin to experience whatever I think about you and it begins to erode my trust in you, I'm going to come directly to you and talk about it. And then, when I'm convinced I will not be able to deliver on a promise or an expectation, I'm going to inform you ahead of time so that there's not a surprise. And in return, when you confront me about gaps I've created, I'm going to tell you the truth. Yeah, I did. No, I didn't. And here's why. So, do you tend to believe the best or do you assume the worst in people? Now, people know. They know this about you because trust and suspicion is like a telegraph pass. I mean, you can kind of see where it's going. But who do you naturally go negative with? Do you go negative with your kids, your spouse? Is it work? I mean, isn't it true you have a few relationships that no matter what you talk about, it always goes negative about something? So this morning I wonder, what can you do to break that cycle? Because it's not doing you or them any good not to trust them. And the path forward might be as simple as you just saying, you know what, I want to trust you. I want to try trusting you again. So what would it look like for you and your relationships to give the other person the benefit of the doubt? I mean, even if you don't feel like it, because you're not going to feel like it. But what if you started looking for the most generous explanation for the other person's behavior? And what if, in this context, you took the advice from Jesus? What if you took what Jesus said in Luke chapter 6, verse 31, and you said, do unto others as you would have them do to you? Because don't you want them to trust you? And you choose trust. And when you do, you're actually going to become pure in heart. You know what Jesus said? When that happens, then you're going to see God's activity around you. And isn't that what ultimately you've been talking about has been missing in your life? I mean, haven't you been wondering, God, where are you right now? And Jesus says, if you make a decision to clear out all that junk in your heart and all that mistrust and everything, then you will see God. So here's where to start. You know, it's possible that there are things that you and I don't know everything about. There's things maybe about our spouse or our kids or at work or nationally with the schools and at church about the decisions and behaviors and activity that everyone's doing. There may just be some things that we don't know. We don't know all the sides. We don't know all the angles. We don't know all the different ways that people are doing what they're doing. But we have a choice. And I want us this week to choose. Let's not start with suspicion. Let's choose to start with trust. Can we do that? Because Jesus says, if you do that, your heart's going to be pure. And then you'll have the ability to see God. Can I pray with you this week? Father, today we ask that you would just help us to kind of take these beatitudes, these special things that you taught your followers, your disciples, that if they would do these things, their life would be reflective of the kingdom that you were trying to build, which is the kingdom of God. And one of those things is you said, if you want to see God's activity around you more, God's active, but you just may not be able to see it, and maybe because your heart is clogged. And one of those areas is with mistrust, suspicion, doubt, conspiracies. So God, would you help us to choose trust first and not just default to suspicion or negativity, and help us to assume maybe there's just something I don't understand, even though I think, oh, I know what's going on here. Would you help us? And in the process, would you help to renew our hearts and not just take the teachings of Jesus as, oh, that was helpful, but may we apply it to our life and begin today by choosing to trust. We love you, Jesus. It's in your name we pray. Amen.